Alright guys, so for this video I'm going to be doing a quick rundown on the whole process for how to buy a VA loan property and everything to expect when you're going through that process. When I first did it, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know about, so hopefully this video will give you a little bit more context and make you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're going to go buy your VA loan. So go and sit back, grab yourself a drink, and listen to the smooth sound of my voice talking about real estate. All right, let's get into this. All right, so for the first step, you're gonna want to get pre-approved for your VA loan limit. That's really important so that way you know what's in your budget and what to look for. The first step of that is you're gonna wanna get your certificate of eligibility. I'm gonna put a link in the description on the link to the VA website on how to do that. It's a pretty easy process. If you don't wanna do that, you can provide all the information to your lender, the person who you're gonna borrow from, and they'll get it for you. You're gonna wanna make sure that you have a good credit score. That's really going to play into what your rates are, what your interest rates are for the property. If you don't have a good credit score or you don't know how to build credit, watch this video that I'm linking up here for one of our previous videos on how we describe how to better your credit. The next step that you're going to want to do after you get pre-approved for your VA loan limit is, or in the process of that, is you're going to want to contact at least 3 lenders. The reason for that is because you're going to want to make sure that you're getting the best deal possible. You want to make sure you're getting the best interest rate possible. If you only go with 1 lender, then you don't know if that's a good interest rate. If you go with 3, you're going to be able to compare and contrast them. And if you really want to go with one person, you can say, hey, you know, this other person is giving me a 2.75 interest rate. You're giving me a 3.0. Can you lower that? And they might say yes. So, you really want to start doing that because that's a very important process for anything with business, is getting multiple quotes so you can compare the best deal. All right, getting into the second step. Second step is research your local market. That's number 2. If you don't know how to research your local market, I do a pretty in-depth video. I'm gonna link it right here. It's a pretty long video, but it gives you a really good rundown on everything in the VA home buying process, on how to research your market and how to find the right property for you. So if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and watch this one up here. From that, you're going to want to determine the price range for your property that you're looking for and the actual type of property, you know, whether you're getting a single family home, multi-family home, a condo, and how many bedrooms that's going to be, whether you want to do 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, which I suggest at least a 2 bedroom, 3, 4, etc. After you know that, after you've done some research in your market, you know what you want, you're going to want to try and get a real estate agent. I wouldn't really get a real estate agent before this process because if you haven't looked into your market, you might not know exactly what you want. When you get that real estate agent, you want to make sure that you tell them exactly what you want, because these real estate agents are not really trying to find the best deal for you to be a real estate investor and to get actual good positive cash flow and to find a great deal. They're really trying to just buy and sell houses. So if you don't tell them what you're looking for exactly, then they're not going to know. They're just going to give you all these different properties. But if you say, you know, I want it in this location, I want this type of property, I want this many bedrooms, and I want it in this price range, then that's really going to narrow down the search for you, and it's going to save you a lot of time. All right, the next step is you're going to want to check out the property. So after you've got a real estate agent, after you know what you want, and they come back to you and they say, hey, we found these properties for you, you're going to want to go look at that property and walk that property. So as you're going over to that property, you're going to want to look at the area and take notes of any issues that you find about the area, whether they're good or bad. Same thing with the property. You're going to want to take note of key things that are important or valuable about this property and things that are not very good that might affect the rent or might affect whether or not you're going to buy it, right? Does this property have a pool? Does it have indoor washer and dryer? Does it have air conditioning? Right? Not every property is going to have that. So make sure you take notes so that way when you're reflecting back on this and you're trying to figure out which property you want to go for, you have a detailed list of all the amenities that this property has and any problems that it might have. Okay, so if you do in fact like that property, it's within your price range, you don't notice a lot of problems about it, and it's something that you want to go for, the next step that you're going to do is you're going to put an offer in on the property. That's going to be your real estate agent really doing that. They're going to communicate with the selling agent and they're going to put in an offer. You're probably going to have to do this multiple times because what's going to happen is they're going to come back with a counter argument or a counter offer, and you can always counter that as well. So when you're putting in that offer, which is the next step, you're like I said, your real estate agent's going to do this. And a quick side note on that, you might have to actually put in an offer before you walk the property. In some states and some cities, you can't walk a property if there are tenants in there without putting an offer in on that property. So I've definitely come across some properties where you have to put in an offer in order to even walk the property. You can view the outside, obviously, but you're not going to be able to view the inside without putting an offer in that property. But don't be scared of that process, because you're going to be in escrow during that time period. So if you notice anything wrong with that property in the first couple of days, you can definitely get out of that property at no cost to you. So once you put in your offer, if the selling agent is going to accept that, then what's going to happen is you're going to enter into escrow. Escrow is pretty much the window of saying that I have, the seller is saying, I have this buyer who wants to buy this property. The buyer is saying, I want to buy this property. It's legally not yours yet. It's still theirs, but it's this window of time before you actually close on the property and buy it. During that escrow period, it's pretty much going to give you complete favor and control of actually being able to buy that property. It's pretty much locking in the deal for you. And during that time, you're going to be able to do inspections on the property, VA appraisals, everything like that. So that's what escrow is. So once you get into this escrow period, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put down an earnest money deposit. This was one of those things that I didn't know I was going to have to do, but effectively what an earnest money deposit is it's going to be a percentage of the property. It could be 1%, 2%, 3%. I always just do 1%. I think it's ridiculous if you have to do more than that, but it's pretty much it's for the comfort level of the seller to pretty much say, I'm serious about this property. So say you're buying a house for $250,000, 1% of that is $2,500. That's what you're gonna have to put down for the earnest money deposit. You can put down something lower, but all that might do is just tell the buyer that you're not as serious about it. So pretty much however much money you put down is saying, okay, I'm very serious about the property. During that process, during escrow, you're going to have to get a VA appraisal. So a VA representative is going to have to come out to that property, actually take a look at the property and appraise the property. So that way the VA can say, the price that you're buying this property is actually what it should sell for, right? If they come back with an appraisal for $150,000, then you can't buy a $250,000 house. I haven't really heard of any issues where the VA appraiser, gives a drastically different price than what the selling agent is listing it for, but it can happen. If that does happen, then you won't be eligible to buy that property. So the VA is going to have to appraise that. Secondly, you're going to have to do an inspection, and this is going to be an independent inspection. This is not funded or hosted by the VA. The VA appraisal is free, unless I'm getting that wrong. Yeah, the VA appraisal is free. If someone says that it's not free, then please comment that down in the description. But when I did it for my properties, it was free, at least to my knowledge, unless they were, taking money from me somehow. But the VA appraisal should be free. The inspection, however, that you're going to do is not free. You're going to have to pay for that out of pocket. Make sure you get a pretty good inspection, because they're going to take note of any problems that they find in the property. Any of those problems that they find, it can be negotiated into the closing deal for the property, right? So say you find, that the air conditioner is broken and it's going to cost maybe $2,000 or $3,000 to repair. Well, you can get $2,000 or $3,000 off of the property value from the seller, or they can, the seller can say, okay, we'll pay $2,000 or $3,000 of the closing costs, so that way you can have that extra money to be able to fix these problems. Or you can put it in the escrow documents that you want these problems fixed before closing. There's a lot of different ways that you could do this. It's really all up to you, but it's kind of like a negotiation to say, okay, I want this much money for these problems, or I want you guys to fix these problems prior to closing. So there's a lot of ways you can go about it, but those are just some options you might want to talk about with your lender and your real estate agent, and just kind of, mull over it for a little bit and think about what you want to do. All right, so once all these things are done, once you've had the inspection, once you've had the VA appraisal, and you're in the process of escrow, your lender is going to start setting up all the documents, everything that needs to be done for the property. You're going to get some documents to be able to look at, and that's where this whole process really kicks off. A lot of times escrow can be 30 days, it can be 60 days. I've even seen it where it's 18 or 20 days. The faster this escrow process is, and the faster that they can close on this property, a lot of times it will look better to the selling agent. and to the seller, and they'll be more likely to go with your offer. So if you can do a shorter time span, that's probably better. With that inspection that I was mentioning previously, you have a span of about 3 to 4 days. It can really be negotiated into this escrow period on when you can back out of this property. So if you find anything wrong for any reason, you can back out, get that earnest money deposit back to you, and it's no cost to you. You can just say, you know, I found this problem with this air conditioning unit. That's not something I want to deal with. I would like to back out of escrow, and you don't have to pay anything. That leads us into the next process, which is actually closing on the property. So that's at the end of this escrow period, whether that's 18, 20 days, 30 days. Once you get to the end of that, that's where you close on the property. You're going to be signing a lot of closing documents. You're going to be signing a bunch of papers. It's a huge fat stack. So get your hand ready to do that. So once you close on this property, you're going to have to pay the VA funding fee and any type of closing costs for the property, unless that is going to be wrapped up into the loan of the property, which, you know, I would kind of suggest. I did that for all my properties, and it really limits the amount of money that you have to drop on this property starting out, and you can save that or invest it into something else. You know, yeah, your interest rate might go up a little bit, the overall cost of the property might go up, but when you're really looking at like how much you're paying per month, I think it's a better deal than dropping, you know, $5,000 to $8,000 on the closing fees and the VA funding fee and everything. If you don't know about the VA funding fee, then check out our previous video. I'll link it up here on where I kind of go into what the VA loan is, and I describe all these terms and all these processes. So once you close on the property, a lot of people are wondering, you know, when their first payment is due. Well, likely you won't have to pay your first payment for about 2 months. And that's just the way the loan processing works and everything. But if you do have a condo or a townhouse or something and you have to pay HOA fees, you're still gonna have to pay that on a monthly basis. But for about the first 2 months or month and a half, you won't have to pay your mortgage payment. So that's a good way to save some extra money just in case anything happens or to fix anything that you need to have repaired in the property. All right, and that's pretty much the whole process for going through the whole VA loan, the VA home loan buying process. If you have any suggestions or anything that I missed, this is a very brief statement, a very brief video, then please comment them down in the description so other people can get some help as well for anything that I missed, or maybe I can add it to this video. But real quick, I wanted to cover the total fees that you're gonna have to pay for the VA loan. Because a lot of people think it's free, and it kind of is, but there's a lot of things that go into it. I briefly mentioned it in some steps of this video, but it's going to be the earnest money deposit. That's going to be about 1 to 3% of whatever the loan cost is. That can go into the closing costs. So if you are paying that out of your own pocket, then it can go into that. You can get that refunded back to you and have your lender pay the closing costs. It's kind of a weird process, but they'll walk you through the whole thing. You're going to have to pay for an inspection depending on how big the property is, the property type and everything. This can be a few $100s to, even almost $1,000 if you've got a multifamily unit or a big property. Closing costs. So closing costs can be, I think it's about 2 to 3% of the full price of the property. But again, if you found anything wrong with the property, then the seller can pay for some of those closing costs, or you can have those closing costs wrapped up into the total loan and not pay those out of pocket. The VA funding fee, that's going to be 2.3% unless you're buying a house for the second time. That's going to have to be paid as well unless you're getting that wrapped up into the property. So if for the next one, if your lender's charging a sourcing fee, if you have a lender that's charging that, there are lenders out there who are not going to charge that. So you really want to shop around and make sure you can get the best interest rate, and make sure that your lender is not trying to get a few $1,000s off of you just for letting you borrow some money, because a lot of them do that. So definitely do your due diligence and make sure you're getting a good lender. But you will not have to pay anything to your real estate agent. That is going to be coming from the seller, not from the buyer. So you can see from all these things, you can really get them either refunded back to you or get them wrapped up in the total loan amount. The things that you are going to have to pay for is the earnest money deposit and the inspection. The inspection you won't get refunded back to you. The earnest money deposit you can if you want to have your lender just put everything into the loan and you don't have to put anything out of pocket. So just keep in mind that when you're going to go buy a VA loan home, that you're going to need a few $1,000s. It's not going to be completely free. All right. If you have any suggestions about this video, then comment them in the description. If you don't follow us on Instagram or Facebook, we do weekly quick tips on different benefits. So definitely check that out, and subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed. We'd really appreciate it.